What is going on, Bucs fans and CFP fans? Evan Wanish here, back at you with yet another video talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And today we're going to be going over the best and the worst from the Buccaneers' Week 6 victory against the San Francisco 49ers. The Bucs improved to 5-1, beating a team that, quite frankly, has had their number over the past few years, and more specifically, has had Todd Bowles' number over the last couple of seasons. And Bucks finally got that monkey off their back, right? And it has to feel good for them. It really does. But I am not alone. Joining me today is my CFP co-host, Mr. Rhett Matthew. Rhett, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling fantastic. I could get used to this feeling. Yet another victory Monday for our beloved Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We are back in the win column yet again. A 5-1 record, a quarterback playing like an MVP, a Coach of the Year candidate. I think there's a lot of things going right for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and this was just another great win in a season full of great wins so far.
Yeah, no, for sure. And look, going to be honest, spoiler alert here. The worst list is not going to be very long because I thought this was a pretty solid all-around team performance, right? So, like, we were struggling here to come up with, like, who, like, we don't want to single out, somebody who, like, kind of did their job, like didn't like fail at anything. So, um, it was difficult, which that's a good sign, right? When it's difficult to put somebody on the worst list, that's how you know the game went pretty well. But let's start off with the offense and with quarterback Baker Mayfield, who is just playing at such a high level right now, easily playing, I think, the best football of his career. Even like I think I mentioned this on the podcast, but like even like his college, career, right? The thing that got him drafted first overall by the Cleveland Browns, he was never playing at this level. 17 of 23, again, only six incompletions after I think last week having four or five incompletions, just incredibly efficient. Ball's not hitting the ground. 256 yards, two touchdowns, zero interceptions, 139.0 passer rating, but also had three carries for 14 yards, including a long of 15. And that may look okay, well, whatever in the box score. But when you actually watch what that 15-yard carry was, it is 10 times more impressive. It was a 3rd and 14. Baker Mayfield escapes a sack, makes another man miss, picks up a critical first down. The Bucs actually score two plays later to really put the pressure on the Niners there. Incredible game by number 6, and he continues to make a pretty strong case to be, the MVP, even though it is early.
I think it's funny he just does it every week now. It's one
Yeah.
of those things where these are plays being made that you kind of, obviously you're going to remember forever, but you remember it in the grand scheme of the season. Like, oh, you remember that one time against that one team, Baker made that impossible play, but he's doing it every week. You can already look at 3 or 4 different times this season where he was in no man's land. He was about to get sacked on 3rd and 17, and he's able to use his legs to extend the play and make it happen. And on top of that, he's able to do that and then get better than he was before. He's protecting the football this season better than he ever has in a Tampa Bay Buccaneers uniform. And with yet another offensive coordinator and just an endless list of injuries, they are finding ways to win. And Baker Mayfield is absolutely, unequivocally one of the biggest parts of the Buccaneers' success so far through 6 games.
Definitely. And hopefully he can keep it up because what he's doing right now is not only good, but it's pretty darn entertaining as well. And let's talk about some of his receivers here. And we're not going to be talking about the ones that you would expect, I think. We're going to be talking about the two Johnsons. That is Cam Johnson and Tej Johnson. Cam Johnson, obviously a second-year player. Tej Johnson, a rookie. Both made impact plays. Both found the end zone, actually. Cam Johnson led the team in receiving yards. Cam Johnson led the team in receiving yards. Don't think I had that on my bingo card at the start of the season for Cam Johnson to lead the team in receiving yards in the game, but he did finish with 4 catches for 64 yards and a touchdown. And then Tej Johnson had 1 catch, but he made it count. 45-yard touchdown with an incredible grab, and then flip to boot it off there. So, what did you think about the two young wide receivers' performances on Sunday?
Cameron Johnson is an interesting case because he leads the team in receiving against the Niners. Came into that game with no catches in his NFL career. Not only does he lead the team in receiving, but he puts on a show for a big 35-plus yard touchdown, his first career NFL touchdown. And then, of course, Tej Johnson, his first career NFL touchdown. What a way to do it. The 45-yard bomb, showing off the acrobatics afterwards. I think it's going to be interesting to watch these guys roll in the coming weeks. We got a positive update on Mike Evans, but it could be a couple of weeks until he's back up to full strength, maybe the other side of the bye week. So you're going to be counting on these guys to step up and contribute a little bit more. I know Sterling Shepard has been playing well too, but Tez Johnson, a Buccaneer draft pick, and Cameron Johnson, a guy who a lot of people didn't even see making the team to start the year, both of them stepping up in a depleted wide receiver room. Very good performance from the depth so far this year for Tampa.
Definitely, and that's definitely something you're going to want to see. And kudos to the front office as well. Um, obviously, drafting Tej Johnson, finding Cameron Johnson as an undrafted free agent, so was pretty big there. Let's move on to the defensive side of the ball here. Lo and behold, we have the four-man pass rush to be on the best list. Wow, they've been on the worst list, I think, more than once so far this season. And it's not that they've been terrible, right? It's just I think they've been a little underwhelming. I think that's the biggest thing. I don't think there's ever a game where I thought, oh my God, this is just terrible. This is, like one of the worst I've ever seen. But it's like, you just wish for a little bit more. Sunday, they did the job, man. Sunday they did like a really good job of pressuring guys. We talk about, pressure with four guys and everything. We talked about talked about it on the show. I think you had mentioned what five of their six sacks or something like that came with just four guys, rushing, and that's critical, right? That helps out everybody on your defense when you can get pressure and get to the quarterback with just four, not have to send guys, not have to put that stress on your secondary. I think it's pretty big. So shout out to the Bucs four-man pass rush in this one.
Yeah, not only did your starters have a good day, Vita Vea had a half sack for himself. Yaya Diaby had two sacks,
Hmm.
which you do love to see down there from that outside linebacker spot. But the depth players that are stepping up as well. When Kalijah Cansey went down, we knew that there was going to be a hole for the Buccaneers defensive line, specifically in their pass rush game, right? Their front four pass rush was going to suffer a little bit. But Elijah Roberts, CJ Brewer both had a half sack against San Francisco. Elijah Simmons has been popping up as well, playing pretty promising snaps. So I think the fact that these depth players are stepping up and contributing to the success that we have seen, not only on the defense, we just talked a ton about the receiver room and the depth stepping up. Next man up mentality is very real with this Bucs team, and these guys are, I don't want to say seemingly getting more impressive, but they're making more plays as the weeks go on, and the Bucs are going to need them a little more here.
Yeah, no, absolutely, I agree. And look, I mean, come playoff time, like when you're playing better competition, you're playing better quarterbacks, and look, the 49ers are a quality team, but when you're playing those top tier quarterbacks, you're gonna have to get pressure with four guys because a lot of times top tier quarterbacks are gonna be able to pick a blitz apart, right? And it's just not gonna work. So pretty critical there. Sticking with the defense, we're going to be talking about Levante David. Now, another straight week where we talked about David, and yeah, he had the one play last week in Seattle where the dude broke the tackle and he scored, but then he comes up with the big interception. Thought he played really solid though in this entire game. Thought the tackling was good. Came up with a sack, was almost a forced fumble, very close to being a forced fumble, and recovery would have been by Levante David there as well. So I thought pretty solid game from 54 there, and that made two back-to-back games where you're like, all right, maybe he's starting to pick it up a little bit more here.
We always love a good week for Levante David. And I mean, what's good is that he still has this big play ability as well, right? Like these aren't just plays that he's cleaning up and brushing off a little bit. This is a game-sealing interception last week against Seattle. He has a big-time sack against San Francisco and a day where the defense just absolutely obliterated Mac Jones. So Levante David being one of those guys on the defense who can still step up and make these plays, a good day for him is always going to be celebrated. So very happy to see 54 back in the best column for another week in a row.
Absolutely. So hopefully he can make it three in a row, right? And then next week, perhaps. Can we talk about somebody else here who played really well, made multiple big plays, almost caused two turnovers just himself? That's cornerback Jamel Dean. Now, Jamel Dean had a pick on fourth down. Then earlier in the game, though, had a sack, which is his first career sack. Which, I mean, look, he's been in the NFL for a little bit, right? You would have thought, especially with Todd Bowles being his defensive coordinator for basically his entire career, that the blitzes and stuff, like, man, you'd come up at some point, right? Like you're going to get a sack. Not the case for Jamel Dean. Um, It was the strip sack, actually, just the 49ers were able to recover the ball. But really solid day from Jamel Dean, who's putting together a pretty solid season.
Yeah, and again, we've talked about Jamel Dean time and time again as a guy who is under a lot of scrutiny from the Buccaneer fan base. He took a pay cut to basically cut his contract to the end of this year. Curious to see that outcome, but for a guy who is in a contract year, he's playing really well, and he's playing the type of football that the Buccaneers have needed from a healthy Jamel Dean because, as you said, he's stepping up and he's making plays. He's already got 2 interceptions this season, has the pick six. So this is a defense that needed takeaways. Jamel Dean is one of the guys on defense who is delivering takeaways, if you will. You love to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully he can keep it up. The worst, look, we said it, before it. We were hard pressed, right, to find it, and we just didn't really want to pick out anybody. So here's what we're gonna do. The worst is going to be the Bucs injury situation, right? Because while yes, they have a decent chance, I think they'd be getting Mike Evans back for this week against Detroit. They didn't play Chris Godwin in this game, right? Chris Godwin was out with a fibula injury, so you're already down receivers. Well, in the second half, you learn that Emeka Ibuka is doubtful to return with a hamstring injury, and then he quickly gets ruled out, so now his status is in doubt. Bucks injury situation can't really seem to catch a break. Seem to be getting slowly healthier, right? I mean, you had Jamel Dean come back this week. Mike Evans hopefully coming back. I think Benjamin Morrison's close to coming back. We'll see. Bye weeks coming up. That's another opportunity for guys to get healthier. Technically, you play Monday night, so you have an extra day to rest up. So hopefully they are. But yeah, the Bucks injury situation, while they're winning, still seems to bite them at some point here.
Yeah, we talked about the potential of this Buccaneers team getting healthy and what the aspirations are going to be once they reach that point. I think it's going to be a real problem for the rest of the NFL. As if the Bucs aren't already a problem for the rest of the NFL. I know the Eagles kind of got the best of them, but the Bucs are atop the NFC right now, 5-1, heading into the bye week, trying to get healthy. It could be a huge factor for this team down the stretch. You just got to hope that, pun not intended here, the bleeding can stop at some point because again, it's week in and week out. You're just losing guys every single game, and you're not losing them for days at a time. You're losing them for games at a time, 2, 3, 4 weeks at a time, and that's definitely not sustainable in the NFL. So I would like to see them get healthy. They are taking steps towards getting healthy. And luckily, with the amount of wins that they have right now, I think it's a good pace for them to be on to not have to rush anybody back. The last thing you want to do is feel like you need Mike Evans to play the Saints before the
Yeah,
bye week, and he goes out there and makes his injury even worse. So, with that being said, I think that they are headed in the right direction. But I say that um, cautiously optimistic, just because of what we've been dealt this year already.
definitely. So let us know what you guys think. What did you think of the game? Who do you think was the best, the worst? What stood out to you as being something that was really good, or something that you would like to see maybe improved upon? Maybe you have something different for us, right, than our list. We're always curious to hear in the comment section below. But thank you all for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And go Bucks.